It's Thursday, April 18th, 2024.
And I'm Jeremy Wright. Welcome to another episode of Tank Talks. This is Tank A. I've shown it many times. It is a 55-gallon, mostly Central American tank. Guppies, few black mollies that have some kind of silver in them that were removed from their tank just because they had some color impurities. I didn't want them breeding with the others, so they're hanging out in here with the guppies. There are also a couple of ancestress catfish, one male, one female, and a lot of plants. A lot of plants. Some of them were recently given to me by my buddy Jack Corley. So there is a Persicaria, a plant that I actually don't know what it is. I'm going to have to look back to my notes. So that guy and this little guy, center screen, were recently added. And as well as this tall plant. And you'll have to forgive me for not knowing. He gave me like 30 something species of plants from the Arkansas herbarium all at once. And it literally overloaded my brain. So I was like, gank, glitch. And I just had to start writing things down. So I wrote things down, but I have yet to actually learn enough about these. But I'll show you some more of these things. And then you'll kind of get an idea as to why I haven't had time this week yet to actually learn this stuff. I've also been traveling quite a bit, and that's just what it is. So anyway, I'm going to try to keep this kind of short and sweet. Tank A, it's a 55-gallon Central American tank, and it does have now a few native Arkansas plants. And now we're at Tank B. This is my 29-gallon convict cichlid tank. So these are blue convicts. They're not really the normal kind of sheepish white gray color. These have potentially had some hybrids like parrots in their lineage, but they are very convict-like. So that was a number of generations ago, and I suspected that they had polar blue back 4 generations ago, just prior to when I got them. I actually purchased them as polar blues, but I think they were an F1 of polar blue cross convict. So they're now just blue convicts, and they're pretty cool. I likes them. They're kind of at capacity here. So there are 2 breeding pairs. One of the breeding pairs is back to the back over there, and you can see one of the larger ones came out. As far as convicts go, the ones that have kind of a pinkish reddish belly are the females, and the larger ones that don't seem to have that, they're males. And there's a little bit of a body shape difference, but check this guy out. He's just a gorgeous, gorgeous fish. And he's a little bit aggressive to some of the others, but they think I'm about to feed them, which isn't going to happen because I just fed these guys. But they're happy, they're hanging out, they ravage plants. And something that's kind of interesting, like if I ever find a bug running across the floor in my house, I grab it like with a cup, slide a piece of paper under the cup, and then bring it in here and drop it in the top of this tank. And that bug gets destroyed. And it's pretty amusing. Actually, I'll probably get that on video one day just because it's kind of worth watching. So this is Tank B, again, 29-gallon convict cichlid tank. Soil under sand, much like almost all of my tanks. They do have live soil down at the bottom. There's a major reason for that. That is really to keep microbiology going. The different stratified layers under the sand do different things, and they support different biology, and that's important. It's an important part of an aquatic ecosystem. So this tank just jams along, and the convicts, they're just so fun to watch. So we get a kick out of this tank. We've now made it to Tank C. This is a 3.5-gallon. This is sort of one of my larger Nano systems, but yeah, I think 3 gallons is in the Nano range. And does have, let's see, a couple of cardinals, just because the cardinals didn't have another safe home, so they're in here. This is a safe spot, and they've been going long term. And a couple of female endlers were placed in here, just because I had some white mosaic guppies. They moved, and I wanted some more stuff visible in here. So anyway, this is the tank. I'm gonna stay out of the shot for now. Maybe not. I'll brief appearance. Hi, how you doing? Forgot there's a mirror here. Yeah, I wasn't planning on that. So in the back of this, what's back here? So it's Tradescantia. So this like zebra Tradescantia, Mexican petunia, syngoniums, aroids, begonia. This is a pink princess begonia. It's been in there for quite a while. It's doing pretty well. Actually, something that's not doing so well, I'll pull that out. That was a bit of parsley. So down in there, I mean, there's inclinata, there are little woodwigias, there are quite a few crypts, stargrass. There's a lot of stuff growing down in this. Nana petite, there are 2 or 3 types of snail. Actually, it looks like I need to trim the stargrass and maybe replant some down in here. And yeah, I need to do that. I probably also need to trim this Ludwigia and replant it. Yeah, I need to do that too. So, oh, and I forgot there's a nearite in there. Center screen, you can see the nearite. And that's an old snail, believe it or not. That is a pretty old snail. This is a pretty cool tank. I like it. Let's move on and look at tank D. Tank Delta D. This is a 20-gallon tall. 20 tall is actually one of my favorite formats for an aquarium, or specifically a planted aquarium. Now this one has something that's just kind of interesting. Malaysian trumpet snails galore. So that's just a thing that we do in this aquarium, is we have a lot of Malaysian trumpet snails. And that's just a thing that we do in this aquarium. There are black mollies, there are endlers, live bearer. There are a lot of plants. There is a sparkling gourami, a single sparkling gourami. Let's see if we can find her. Not right now, nope sauce. Oh, there we go. Down in the back, way down there. Hi, how are you doing? So, there's a lot to talk about in this tank, but because I don't yet have species IDs, I may have to pause. I recently added these large Eponogeton Olthaceas, and I believe that's a, oh gosh, why am I losing the name? I've lost the name, brain glitch. Something in the carrot family down here. So this is going in, we're starting to see some of these things that I mentioned my buddy Jack gave me, and I don't know exactly what they all are. This tank also grows like red root floater like crazy, just grows it like crazy. So moving on. Okay, we're now back in the guest bathroom and tank Echo. This is a 5-gallon gravel tank, and honestly, this is a kind of cool tank, but it's hard to see because normally it's behind a set of jars. So there are jars all up and around it, and that's just how it is. So shrimp jars, vases, and large plants growing around it. This was a crayfish tank, which is kind of why it is as it is. It gravel, and there's even a brick in the back. Oh, we can't see it, it's just kind of overgrown, but this tank is like heavily planted, but it's got some kind of cool things in here. And sorry for the reflection, that's just gonna be what it is for a while. Guppies, but also white convicts. So they're known as snow whites when they occur in other people's tanks, or if you were to buy them. However, they just popped up in my tanks. And there's one, I have 3 in here. but pretty little non-albino, just white convex cichlids. There are 3 of them. And I separated them from their others, their kindred, and put them in here a while back. And it's a quite heavily planted tank for what it is. So Chinese evergreen and Mexican petunia growing up and out of it. So growing up a ways, in fact, like a pretty good ways, almost my height. Not quite, but almost. Otherwise, yeah, it's just a cool tank, and it's one that I probably need to pull the light off of here and get the duckweed off the tank. Let's just kind of peek down into it. So there are persicarias in here. There's also a Pelia, an aluminum plant in here, growing up out of the water. There is a pothos, a yellow pothos, in fact. And I just need to lift the tank, pull the shrimp jars and stuff off of here, off of the light. Oh, noteworthy, this is my only remaining fluorescent. No, it's not. I have one other. But this is actually an Aquarium T5, I think, and it grows the heck out of plants. Like crazy. It's pretty cool, actually. But yeah, that's Tank Echo, little 5-gallon planted tank. Now it's time for Tank F. This is another tank that's another little 5-gallon. So we just looked at Tank Echo. This is Tank F. F is for frog. You might think it's for something else. F is for frog. And this is a leopard frog. This is kind of a recreation of a pond. And this is another tank that has quite a few native Arkansas species. Quite a few. But the frog bit that's growing on top, this is Amazon frog bit, not our native frog bit, which is this stuff over here. That's native frog bit. I'll show it to you in a minute. And see, there's an F. I told you it was Tank F. In here, we're going to see tadpoles somewhere. They were okay early years. They should. Oh, there's one. Okay, he's like, hey, don't eat me, feed me, don't eat me, feed me. But the tadpoles are just great. They're so fun to watch. There are also pond snails and scuds in here. Now, I just saw the scuds for the first time today, so I'm kind of excited about that. I've been doing regular updates on this tank. It's on a separate playlist. If you want to watch, I think it's listed as Frog Tadpole Tank. And yeah, different playlist than my Planted Aquarium playlists. List, singular, but there's a lot to say about this, but it has been said on that playlist. Uh-oh, lights cooked off. Time to click them back on. Aha, lights back on. After F comes Tank G, and I probably need to go to the other side of this tank to really give you a feel for it. It's a 10-gallon tank. This is a gravel over soil tank. Now, I showed you a gravel tank earlier in Tank Echo, the first 5-gallon I showed you, with the little white convicts and some guppies that was underneath the shrimp jars and stuff. This is my other gravel tank, and it's, well, let's go around to the other side. So, other side of Tank G. G is for guppy. So that's how I do it anyway. G's for other stuff. But this is a guppy tank, and it's rocking along. I actually did, so this tank has an interesting light. This is my first Sea Aura 616 14-watt lamp. It's a pretty good light. Grows plants like crazy. This is a guppy tank. It had a little bit of a cloudy water problem, which is a bacterial or fungal or both bloom, but it's a bloom of microbiology. Now, when you get cloudy water, you don't necessarily know what it is unless you test, and it should be multiple species, unless you're just in a really strange environment. But in an aquarium, it's going to be multiple species. It's going to be something's blooming, and then something else is devouring that or attacking that, and you get this cloudy water situation until something happens, or they deplete their food supply. Well, that often happens in gravel tanks, and that doesn't happen most of the time in my soil under pool filter sand tanks, because they have a large biofilter acting all the time in the tank. However, this is a pretty fun tank. The red root floaters and salvinia are doing great. Oh, there's a little bit of duckweed there. I'm gonna have to remove that. I try to pull it out before it becomes a problem. But I hypothesize that duckweed can regenerate from very, very tiny bits. Very, very, very tiny bits. Bits that are even like on the cellular scale. And if you ever look at duckweed under a microscope, do some microscopy, you'll know why I say that. But that's what I have to say about tank G for the moment. Tank H. H stands for heck yeah. This is the one that the light just clicked off on, but there's a lot to say about this. This is a 27 gallon, roughly cube, or 27.7, I think is what it really is. And there are baby convicts and bigum convicts in here. And that's what lives in this tank. But, oh, there's one. Hey, big guy. What you doing? They're my buddies. Convicts are really personable fish. So, they dig holes, they fight, and they pull up plants. And they have babies. And that's what convicts do. So, there is a large Eponychiton ovacea plant in here. That's the plant here. It's growing from down here. For some reason, the convicts in this tank are not pulling up the Eponychiton. However, they did in the other tank. They ate the plant. So whatever. If you have some convicts, try different plants, see what they'll take. I mean, maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe they'll leave something alive. Floating plants are kind of a win. So there are a lot of floaters, red root floaters. You can definitely grow things out of a hang-on back in a convict tank. They leave pistia alone, water lettuce. They let stuff live. Now, they don't really have a choice about the sweet potato and the Tradescantia. They have to leave it there. But it's kind of taking over the room. That's sweet potato, right? Kind of taking over the room. That's okay, we love it. So, tank H, pretty cool. Tank I is actually right next to it. And this is another 5 gallon. This is a guppy breeding exercise. So really most of my guppy breeding goes on in tubs. And I'll show those to you in a moment, but this one just kind of happened before I set up those other tubs. I've got one of my dry them up towels there, so it's kind of in the way. This tank got a lot of native species planted in it, so I really can't tell you what all they are. However, some of them are melting, and that's probably going to be raising the nitrate level. Some of the stuff just is what it is. I tried. I had to see what would work. But this is a cool little tank also. As with most of mine, it is soil under pool filter sand with a lot of plants. And for the most part, that works well. This one happens to have I think it's an armadillo skull down in it. Let's see if we can get a look at the armadillo skull. Armadillo means armor thingy. And who knows? Maybe it's not an armadillo, but I think it is. My son found that behind our home. And let's see, that leads us to tank J is after I, and it just happens to be right beside us here too. Now this one has a hang-on back that's in the way. It's just sitting here to keep stuff alive for a moment, but it's kind of in the way. This tank is an Arkansas biotope attempt. So everything that you see down here was legally collected in Arkansas. Excuse me for the cough. I couldn't help it. So I collected a good bit of this from private property here, and then a friend of mine who works at the University of Arkansas for the herbarium actually gave me some of the others, and the reason for that is they wanted all of their eggs in more than one basket. So they recently did some collections, and I'm going to click the light that's behind me off for just a moment to get rid of that glare. This is a really interesting tank. 37-gallon. Like most of mine, soil, under pool filter sand, then scape, and a bunch of plants. So that's kind of my pattern. I generally run a hang-on back filter. This one just happens to have a hang-on back on the front. So and there are just lots and lots of plants growing up out of this one also. Lots and lots. It receives indirect light from above it. There are 2 lights above it and 2 lights beside. And there's just all kinds of neat stuff in here, from Richias to Persicarias and Proserpinaca, Calatriches, and just all sorts of little stuff. And this is a fishless tank, so there are quite a few. Generally, if I see any movement, it's because there is an invertebrate doing something. And you don't generally have to look very long to see them or to find them. But sorry for that glare. Make it go away. Make it go away somewhere. This is just a really neat tank though. Like, it's a really neat tank. The invertebrates are awesome, but sometimes they're just in your face, sometimes they're hard to find. But I am loving this tank, and one of my very, very favorite aquatic plants, this Persicaria. Oh, there's a native Ludwigia here. They're just, oh, this is cool. This stuff is going to be really awesome once it develops a bit more. But this is a new tank. So this is actually my most recent tank to set up. So if it looks like some weeds planted in the tank, I mean, you wouldn't be wrong saying that it's some weeds planted in a tank, but you know, if you were to live down around Brazil or Peru and stuck some weeds in a tank, it would still be some weeds in a tank. It's just what grows in your neck of the woods. And this stuff's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool anyway. The invertebrates are really what's neat about this one though. They're just hard to find. Sometimes we'll see scuds and isopods kind of darting around. Sometimes we just don't. Moving on. I'm going to quickly talk about tanks K through O because they're kind of all the same thing. These are guppy breeding exercises. So in this one, K, we have yellow king tiger cobra guppies. And I don't know if we can get a view of them. Maybe we can. Yellow king tigers. What's that, bud? They recently got feds, but they're hangings. Tank L, galaxy white mosaics and babies. So that's sort of what's going on in there. They're kind of hard to find. That's galaxy white mosaics. I guess I can give you this view of these guys also. Yellow king tigers. Very cool. These are 5-gallon Sterilite tubs, by the way. Red metal lace gups. These came from my buddy John Oliver down in Hot Springs, as did the yellow king tigers. The galaxy white mosaics came from my friend with the red Duncan Gate, Richardson. Next to here, tank N. I actually think this is just a mutt guppy tank. Yeah, this is mutt guppies. And not to, I say that as, you know, not like a mean thing. It's just, that's what they are. So over here, this is Endlers. This is O, Endler's Live Bearer. And this one's kind of cracked. It's got a crack across the back. So this is as high as I can fill this one, or bad things happen. And I found that out because I overfilled it after I found that's how I found the crack, okay? That's how I found the crack, is when I made a mess. But I love these Sterilite tubs. So let's see. This is actually gonna tell us a little bit more about them. So maybe I was wrong. 20 quarts, okay, 5 gallons. Awesome. Correct my math if I'm wrong. I am a head injury survivor. This is actually the home of a beta, but he's in a holding cell at the moment because I need to do some planting here. And this is a Kirkland Costco snack container, and I likes those. Let's go to another room. I'm just gonna briefly show you some of my jars. Oh, reflection is just crazy there, right? Yeah, crazy reflection. So this is what I call jar 1, J1. It's been running literally for years, and it has cherry shrimp as well as a bunch of plants. Like, I have to remove plants from this pretty often because they just totally overgrow it. But it's great for the cherry shrimp. So I see 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right now. And that's just what I can see in here at the moment. Oh, and a dead deer head. Oh my God. Somebody killed a deer and put it on the wall. Sand. No soil under here, just sand. Pool filter sand, but just sand. No, actually, yeah, it's pool filter sand. That's pretty cool. And then jar 2 up here, red relies. Red relay shrimp, so same species. And then the jar over here, not normally holding a betta, right now holding a betta because of what I just said, like the other jar. The bigger jar that he usually lives in is being planted right now, and I haven't really got on that. But he didn't have much space in there. These are half-gallon jars, so not really big enough for a beta in my opinion, but he's just hanging out in there for a little while, then he's going back to his gallon jar, and that's betters. But this is pretty cool. Soil under sand. Actually, both of these are the same setup. These are jalapeno jars. I buy them literally from Walmart, and then I eat all the jalapenos out of them. Then I get a free aquarium, or a less than $5 aquarium, plus a bunch of free jalapenos. That's how I look at it. I get a bunch of free jalapenos and a $5 aquarium. And yeah, I think they're Mount Olive brand, so whatever. Jalapenos are jalapenos unless they're not. And I put soil under pool filter sand, same trick, and unfiltered, but they are sitting on a fluorescent tube. So these are technically bottom heat, and that's just what they are. So I'm going to have to get on with some of my work and replant the Kirkland gallon jar so I can move Mr. Betta over. And otherwise, yeah, that's 3 of my planted jars, but there are certainly more. So, like, and then there's certainly more than that too. That's just what I feel like showing, and then we can go outside. And there's a greenhouse and tubs and more stuffs. But for now, me and the fishies are just gonna say bye. Catch you guys later. Thanks for sticking with me for almost half an hour as I talk about fishies and aquariums and plants, but that's what I love. If you like this sort of thing, give me a like, subscribe, follow along. This stuff changes pretty frequently, so basically every time I show these, something has changed or I wouldn't be talking about it. I'm Jeremy. Catch you later.